Hey, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Hey, Coach Tony. I'm your host, Tony Fiorino. And, hey, as you know, each week here on Hey, Coach Tony, we tackle the hottest topics in youth sports, and we like to hear what you have to say. So we've opened up the studio lines at 855-HEY-COACH. That's 855-439-2622. I want to remind you this week that our good friends at Catamount Ski Area in Hillsdale, New York, they've agreed to give us free passes to some of our best callers. So whether you're listening in the car, at home, or even online at www.heycoachtony.com, make sure to chime in on the studio lines at 855-HEY-COACH, and let's see if you can win 2 free day passes to Catamount Ski Area. Well, this week, I have a few topics on the docket, including a very early entry for the Hey Coach Tony Worst Sports Parent of the Year Award. And even though it is only January, I got to tell you, I think this guy may already be the shoe-in and the heavy favorite. I also want to talk about one of the biggest pet peeves that all of us coaches share, namely parents who try to coach from the sidelines. But before we get to that, I came across a story from Ohio, and it reminded me of one of the most important lessons that I try to teach every single coach that I have ever met. And as I go through the story, feel free to call me at 855-HEY-COACH. That's 855-439-2622. Adam is going to have to help us out today. We're having some more technical problems. The computer I use here in the studio has a hand crank on the side of it. It's like from 1935. So Adam's going to have to be reminding me of when we have callers in and let me know who's waiting. But you can handle this for me today, Adam?
You got it.
No carrying coffee promos this week?
No, there's some promos in here, but I don't know what they are, so we'll see.
All right, not a problem. All right, so listen, as I go through this story, you're going to have some opinions, and as they hit you, give me a call. So a lot of you people may know that Wednesday is called Hump Day, right? All right, well, if you listen to a group of parents from Elida High School in Lima, Ohio, you'll think that every day is Wednesday, especially in the school's weight room. Sit tight, listen to the story, and you know what I'm talking about. I got this story off of a site called PrepRally.com, and I'll have some insights for you on PrepRally.com shortly after we go through the story. But let me get right into it. As reported by the Lima News, one Ms. Kimbra Maig is upset about the actions taken against her son. Her son, Brandon, actions were taken against him by the Elida football coach, a gentleman named Jason Carpenter. There's good reason behind Miss Maig's discontent. While the younger Maig was stretching face down in the school's weight room back in March of 2011, Coach Carpenter reportedly walked over, straddled him, began to have mock intercourse with him while he was on the floor, and asked him, "Is this what Big Bubba did to you while you're in juvie?" This was referring to the fact that Brandon Maig had spent, indeed, some time in the local juvenile detention center. Prep Rally ran with this story. They were first made aware of the story by a father of another Elida football player who confirmed in an email that this incident had occurred, despite the insistence of both Coach Carpenter, the town's sheriff, the town's prosecutor's office, and the principal of the school that any criminal act had even taken place. That parent also claims that Ms. Maig's initial inquiries into this event were pushed aside and swept under the rug, intentionally hushed up, because Elida High School was still alive in the 2011 state playoffs. So far, story stinks like yesterday's fish. Now, quote here, the boy's mother has filed a charge against the head coach, Jason Carpenter, only to be discouraged by authorities and school officials as Elida was in the state playoffs. This unnamed concerned Elida parent wrote in his email. That was the quote. The reference to the juvenile center came from a sentence that was handed down to Brandon Maig in relation to a November 2010 incident in which this high school junior and 3 other students robbed a pizza delivery man of his food. No cash was taken during the robbery. They took the kid. They basically at gunpoint took the guy's pizza. It was found out later that it was an airsoft gun made to look like a real gun. So all 4 of these kids were sentenced for time in what the news called a local treatment facility. They went to juvie, okay? Maig was also forced to sit out from all varsity athletics for an entire year but was allowed to lift weights with his teammates and be involved in other social team activities. Now, according to the news, and this is still straight off of PrepRally.com, the elder Meg, meaning Ms. Meg, was first alerted to this incident in October and immediately brought a claim against the coach to the Allen County Sheriff's Office and the Lima Prosecutor's Office. Yet the Sheriff's Office could not gain substantial proof in interviews with Meg and Carpenter to validate the full extent of the incident, and therefore they refused to move forward with any legal charges related to it. Still, the Megs insist Carpenter's, and it was written, they say humping. All right, so the Carpenter's, I'll call it mock intercourse actions, were wildly inappropriate, and that the coach is in need of official punishment for this weight room lewd act and prior indiscretions. Among them was Coach Carpenter's response to an earlier apologetic text from Brandon Meg himself. When the junior apologized for his actions and his involvement in the robbery, the coach reportedly sent a text back to the kid saying, and I quote, "Way to F up the football program." Now, I shouldn't say I quote because I'm not allowed to say what was in the quote, but basically they allege the coach texted the kid, "Way to F up our football program." Ms. Meg did make a statement, and I quote, "I'm absolutely appalled that the Elida Schools has accepted this type of behavior from their staff. I feel by Superintendent Don Delia and the current board members, with the exception of Brian Anders and Brad Settlage, not acting on this is the same as condoning such acts, and in doing so sets a bad example for the students and the staff that they represent." Meanwhile, Coach Carpenter continues to steadfastly refuse the incident ever took place, a claim which flies in the face of both what Meg and another Elida football parent were told happened by their children, who were also in the weight room that day. Carpenter just said, "None of it's true. I think this is her way of being upset with me that our son could not play at Elida this year. It saddens me that as much as we care for Brandon, that this is coming up." Adam, what's your initial reaction on this, man?
There's all sorts of stupid going on here. That's all I can think. I mean, first the kid robs a guy for pizza. I mean,
now the fat kid from the basketball video last week, I could see that kid robbing a pizza guy for pizza.
But I mean, I don't know. There's no. I mean, I guess it's his word against the coach, right here. So
well, that's exactly the point. So when I first read the story, all I could think was, man, I can't wait to get on the air and rip this coach to pieces on the show. You know, it's bad enough kids are getting hazed in the locker room and in the weight room by their teammates. Now they have to be on the defensive from coaches too.
Yeah.
So what do? Being a good, hardworking and responsible journalist, I called Jason Carpenter and I sharpened my fangs. However, I didn't get my hopes up too high, Adam, because I figured there's no way this guy's going to get on the phone, right?
No.
Ongoing investigation, no way this guy's going to call me back. Police investigation, hazing, borderline sexual assault, never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
Yeah. Guess what?
Oh.
Coach Jason Carpenter, returned my call.
Whoa.
Could not believe it, all right? I was going to have my chance to grill this guy and make an example out of him for the world to hear. So we talked, and you know what? Jason Carpenter was the most pleasant guy you would ever want to talk to.
Really?
He did not shy away from any question that I asked, including some point-blank questions like, "Are you denying you did this to a kid, even with a witness coming forward?" He opened up, and he told me everything. And when I say everything, I mean his side of the story. All right? So we're going to make sure we clarify that first.
Okay.
And when he started explaining what happened, it got me to thinking about a few things that I've mentioned on the show several times.
Mm-hmm.
First, if you've done nothing wrong, you have nothing to hide. And this guy was just exemplary of that. If you have done nothing wrong, you have nothing to hide. And second, and this is the one that bothers me, and this is where I want you coaches to chime in, so give us a call at 855-HEY-COACH. Second, and more importantly, the best intentioned of coaches, unfortunately, need to go out of our ways to cover our butts on a daily basis. I know some of you are still pretty heated up about what this coach allegedly did, but let me share some facts. I hate to throw this into innuendo, but I'm going to actually give you some facts, and then we can all take out the Rotten Tomatoes and throw them at the people at PrepRally.com for their disgusting lack of what I'll call even remotely in-depth reporting. Very misleading journalism. Here, let me tell you what I know after having a conversation with Jason Carpenter. First, he's been coaching in Ohio for 5 years and had a pretty decent coaching career down in Florida before that. When I asked him, are you going to spit in the face of these allegations? His answer was basically, yeah. Coach Tony, this did not happen. If you read the story, there's a lot of innuendo, but there is no investigation. He said, I can talk to you. I said, how can you talk to me during this investigation? And he said, because there isn't an investigation. There's no investigation because nothing happened. No proof could be brought forward. And when he said no proof, I said, okay, doesn't mean you didn't do it. So I started digging in more. Here's what else I learned about Coach Carpenter. These kids who basically painted up a gun to look like a real gun, robbed a pizza guy, went to juvie, they were suspended. Now, there was some motion to get these kids reinstated. Do you know who filed the motion to get the kids reinstated? Coach. Not the parents. Coach Jason Carpenter went to bat for these kids to try to get their suspension lifted. He went with the whole story of, hey, they're overall good kids. Yes, they did something stupid. They should be some kind of punishment. But boy, isn't a year kind of harsh? He fought for these kids. Didn't work. So what happened was, and by the way, rightfully so, good for you, Coach, for trying to get them off. But what they did was wrong. So these kids spent 3 months in juvie. When they came back, Coach admitted to me there was some kidding around. He said, teenage boys are going to be teenage boys. So did these kids catch some heat? Yes, they did. Did they catch some heat in the weight room? Yes, they did. Did I ever let it get out of control? No, I did not. He says, listen, Coach Tony, this mom, Kimbra, Meg, is upset with me, even though this was not my decision, and I did everything I could to turn it around. This was the board's decision to deny this appeal. She went to the police, and guess what? No charges were filed. I then asked, hey, Coach, it says here another parent confirmed the story. How on earth do you deny that one? And his answer was simple. Coach Tony, the guys at Prep Rally, they decided to leave out a little interesting point. The other dad who came forward and confirmed the story, guess what? His son was one of the other kids that robbed the pizza guy and got suspended for a year. See, these are the kind of things, these are little tidbits of a story that, to me, kind of make a little bit of sense that you may want to include. And then the last one that seemed like some pretty damning evidence, in my opinion, was, and I asked him, how do you send a text to a kid saying, way to F up our football program? And again, he said they seem to leave out a very important part of the story. I never sent that text, and no one ever produced a text. Not even the kid didn't even try to fake a text. No such thing existed. So what wound up happening was this mom went to the board meeting where they were discussing these things because, and this is where I start to insinuate a little bit, but it makes sense, instead of getting her day in court and justice for her kid, she was more interested in putting smoke out there to try to make fire. She wanted to try this in the court of public opinion. And unfortunately, Jason Carpenter, now I can't go so far as to say totally innocent, never did anything wrong, but you know what? When I finished my conversation with Jason, actually, you know what? I want to go to a quick break. I know we have to do that. When we come back, I'll take some of your calls at 855-HEY-COACH. It's 855-439-2622. And I'm going to give you what I think is really the crux of this issue when we get back. But before we do, I want to give you a quick reminder that tonight at Pro Swing Baseball Training Facility in Port Chester, New York, Kevin Long, the batting instructor for the New York Yankees, will be working with young ball players to help them improve their swing. Kevin is widely regarded as one of the best in the business. He works day to day with such greats as Alex Rodriguez and Derek Jeter, and now your kid can get the same exact instruction. Call Pro Swing now at 914-937-6700 because I believe there may actually be a couple of spots left for tonight's clinic. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. at Pro Swing in Port Chester, right off of 95, easy drive from Connecticut. See if there's still room for your son to join one of the best instructional hitting sessions of the year, and it's happening tonight from 6 to 8 at Pro Swing in Portchester. You're listening to Hey Coach Tony. Stick around. I'll be right back. Talking what most of you thought was going to be a rant on one more coach acting inappropriately towards a kid has quickly turned into the stories that I like to tell, which is there are really good coaches. And unfortunately, sometimes the good coaches are the guys that are left holding the bag. Turns out that a pair of Mongo parents that are disturbed that their kids, God forbid, actually had to stand up and take accountability for robbing somebody, got suspended for a year, and because a coach couldn't get, not because he decided to suspend them, because he didn't, because he could not get them reinstated, which he tried, they're taking it out on him and accusing him basically of sexual assault. One lies and the other one is swearing to it. And it really is starting to get under my skin because as I spoke to Jason Carpenter, football coach from Elida High School in Lima, Ohio, which, by the way, I was saying Elida High School in Lima, Ohio, and everyone was like ready to kill me over that. But anyway, here's the part that got me. As I was wrapping up on my conversation with Coach Carpenter, he took a pause. And he said something that I did not really think of. And I hope you have. I hope you're better than me. Because all he said was, Tony, this is unfair. And it's unfair because I did nothing wrong. Literally nothing wrong. And now I have to answer for this action every time I fill out a job application for any educational institution, any academic institution. This guy, if someone does their homework, and it's easy to go use Google, this guy has to answer for this now. And he was talking about these kids as if he and his assistant coaches were acting as father figures because some of them, including apparently Brandon Megg, come from troubled homes. So congratulations, Coach. What do you get for stepping up and trying to be a father figure for these guys? You get treated like a stepfather, one that beats their kids. What really got me, what compelled me to talk about Coach Carpenter this morning was no more than 2 minutes after I get off the phone with Coach Carpenter, I get a phone call from the principal, a lady by the name of Sarah Burden, the principal at Elida High School. And she called me and she simply said, Coach Tony, I have grown tired of Coach Carpenter answering for something that literally didn't even happen. And she went into an entire monologue about how great a guy Coach Carpenter is. Thank you. Got my Microsoft Windows music from the computer. She informed me, by the way, of something else that was kind of interesting that shed some light on the kind of kids and parents we're dealing with here. Principal Burden serves on 6 district boards for various athletic tournaments throughout the state of Ohio. She's part of the Ohio Athletic Association. Guess what happened when these kids could not be instated into the program? They tried to transfer schools, which, by the way, you're allowed to do, provided you live in the area where you're transferring. So we all assumed, or I should say they all assumed, these kids were going to move and go play football somewhere else. Well, guess what? They lied. They registered for the school, and the school, the only reason I'm not saying is because I can't even pronounce the name of the school, so it's not Wapakoneta, which, what the hell does that mean? But in any event, it turns out the kids registered for that school, and they did not move. So they were illegally trying to transfer. They thought that Coach Carpenter blew the whistle. Principal Burden basically said, no, guess who blew the whistle? I did. And guess what? You should have. It's not only your right as a principal of the school, it was your obligation. Yet again, these kids and these parents don't want any accountability for what they did, and so they looked for a scapegoat. And that scapegoat was in the unfortunate form of Coach Jason Carpenter. And, Coach, I hope you're listening this morning, and I really hope that you spread the word because I want to make sure more people know exactly what did happen here. Somebody wants to refute it, go ahead. But, I mean, good luck. Police checked it out. No cause for investigation, much less arrest or any sexual assault charges. So, I hope this is something you don't have to answer for the rest of your career, Coach Carpenter. And it was indeed a pleasure speaking with you. Likewise to Principal Burden. All right. Well, as I started out earlier in the show telling you, there was an incident that took place, and it doesn't matter how many years I do this show. there are certain aspects of the parent-player-coach relationship that I guess are just never going to go away. And I perhaps one of my biggest pet peeves was highlighted in a story that I got from a suburb of Detroit, Michigan this past week. And the issue that I'm talking about, just to give you an idea, is, of course, parental coaching from the sidelines or the stands. It's been happening as long as kids have been competing. But in some cases, it's just plain getting out of control. The question I got for all of you is this. This is how we're going to start this segment. And I want to hear from the coaches as well as the parents. As a coach, what do you do when a parent meddles in the tactical performance of one or more of your players? Studio lines are open at 855-HEY-COACH. But before I get to your calls, allow me to walk you through what happened to this coach in Detroit and how he handled it. The school is a school called G.P. Liggett, and the coach is a guy by the name of Wayne Gigante. All right, so this Coach Gigante felt that Grosse Pointe University's girl basketball team had an outstanding chance of winning the Class C state championship this year. And they may, but starting this week, Liggett's going to have to do it without Coach Gigante. He resigned as a head coach on Tuesday because of what he said was, and I quote, extreme parental interference. Liggett finished 25-2 last season, losing in the state finals. The team returned the majority of its players, including, and get this, because this lineup is pretty impressive, senior point guard Madison Ristovsky, who is already accepted a scholarship to Michigan. Her younger sister, Haley Ristovsky, who's also been offered Division I scholarships. Sophomore, Brene Andrews. And by the way, the Ristovskys, the gene pool runs pretty deep because they have a little sister by the name of Lola, who is a freshman, who is also a key contributor to the team. Now, as I've had conversations with Coach Gigante, I actually was able to track him down. But in the article, he was quoted as saying, the team is so capable of winning the state championship, and it's killing me to step down since I've helped build something special the last 2.5 years. I've been coaching basketball for 10 years and never had a problem with a player. We know what we want to do. We know what the kids are capable of doing. I had a good feel for this team, but I just can't do it anymore. There can be only one voice, and that has to be the coach. You can't have kids looking up in the stands for instruction. It's too much of a distraction. Dad needs to be up in the stands supporting the kids, not coaching them. This had been building up a bit, and it was just time. Maybe now the pressure will be off the players. The kids are supposed to have fun. Well, first of all, very well said, Coach Gigante. It's important to note that Liggett was ranked number 11 in the preseason rankings and number 1 among all the Class C teams. So they were the heavy favorite going into the season to win the state championship. They got off to a 3-1 start, including a win over the defending Class B state champions. They lost to the Class B semifinalists, a school called Goodrich, and defeated a Class A powerhouse called Detroit Cass Tech. Matter of fact, I think we did a story on Cass Tech earlier in the year, but any event, I should say late last year. Bottom line, that left him with a 51-6 career record. The athletic director, go figure. Hush-hush about the whole thing. Wouldn't go into detail about Gigante's decision to resign. All Michelle Hicks would say is Wayne resigned due to personal reasons. He just felt it was best to resign the position. Joe LaMagno, who was an assistant, will be the interim head coach for the rest of the season. The JV coach is going to step up to be an assistant coach. Tell you what, first caller this is one where I hope you were paying attention. First caller who can identify the biggest problem parent in this story, you got your 2 free lift tickets to Catamount. So give me a call at 855-HEY-COACH. While we're waiting for your calls, I do want to get to an email or two that I got on this one. First, actually, you know what? I think what we're going to do is before we do that, I'm going to go to a quick break before phone lines are starting to ring. We got a couple of emails that we're going to go to. So before we go to break, I do want to tell you about something really cool that's going on. We at the Hey Coach Tony Show are very proud to announce that we, this year, are working with the Boomer Esiason Cystic Fibrosis Foundation to sponsor a runner in the New York City Half Marathon for 2012. I think it's coming up in a couple of months. Several supporters and sponsors of the show have already stepped up to help us, and in return for their support, I want to give them a little well-deserved recognition. If you want to help us with a small donation, just email me for more information. You can email me at heycoachtony@gmail.com. So far, we want to say thank you to our friends at Sono Fieldhouse. Sono is the leading full-service indoor sports training facility, and they're located in South Norwalk. We'd also like to thank the good people at sportssignup.com. If you have to automate your league from collections to registration and everything in between, you go to www.sportssignup.com. Use the promotional code HeyTony. If you're near the Riverside section of Greenwich and are in the mood for a great Italian, then look no further than Pomodoro Restaurant. We want to say thanks to Pomodoro for chipping in and helping our runner. We also want to give a big thank you to the folks at the Outdoor Sports Center in Wilton, Connecticut, fulfilling all your outdoor needs for decades. And, of course, it would not be winter without our great friends at Catamount Ski Area chipping in. Located in the lovely Berkshires, Catamount equals winter skiing fun for the whole family. Again, if you want to learn more about how to help us sponsor our Hey Coach Tony runner in the New York City Half Marathon on behalf of the Boomer Esiason Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, just email me at heycoachtony@gmail.com. Please give what you can. You're listening to Hey Coach Tony. Stick around. I'll be right back.
Coach Tony.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Hey Coach Tony this Saturday and every Saturday at 9 a.m. I want to remind you that starting, I believe it's February 25th, we are going to be seen live throughout the state of Connecticut on CPTV Sports. They will be simulcasting the show. So if you like how pretty I look on YouTube, pretty soon you can just start watching me on TV if you're sitting at home. And we want to say thanks to our friends at CPTV Sports for supporting the show and bringing some Hey Coach Tony goodness to the rest of the state of Connecticut. All right, listen, before I get back to what I want to talk about, I want to get to some of your calls and some of your emails. In fact, I believe we've got Coach Stacy on line one calling in from Westchester. Hey, Coach Stacy, you're on Hey Coach Tony. How we doing this morning?
Good, Coach Tony. How you doing?
I'm great. So what do you make of this story?
Well, you know, it's unfortunate because, I mean, I can tell you that the thing that's upsetting is, like, as a coach, you always want to do the best and you always want to do the best by the girls. But the biggest issue often comes with dealing with the parents. You know, each of the girls would love additional playing time and everything, but the parents' personalities are the ones that you typically, you know, run into issues with. And, I mean, I can tell you, you know, I've been coaching my girls since they were in second grade, and, you know, I've had the different run-ins with the different parents, whether it be on basketball, softball, or what have you. And as you said, it's not necessarily the girls, it's with the parents. And this one particular girl I had on my team, you know, her father was a coach, and you could always tell that she was not really looking to the coach, but she was always looking to the stands, seeing what the dad was saying, coaching from the stands and everything else. And, you know, it's unfortunate.
This is at a pretty young age, right? How old are these kids?
It started when they were in second grade. Now they're in, you know, they're fifth grade, so they're 10 years old right now.
So question for you. The girls looking up in the stands has obviously got to the point where you notice it, and obviously you're not thrilled with it because no coach wants to hear that. How do you remedy a situation like that?
Well, you try to set the stage at the beginning and set the expectations for the parents by letting them know that, you know, there needs to be one voice. They need to listen to the coach. And if what I've come to do, I handled one situation in the past the extreme wrong way, and don't want to go into those details where I yelled across the court and everything. Mm-hmm. But, you know, what I've done since is if I see a parent interfering and doing too much of the coaching, I simply pull the girl out. And, you know, once they settle down, I put them back in. And if I see the coaching continues and, you know, the girl's not listening to the direction from the sidelines, you know, I pull the girl out again. And, you know, it's sad that some of the girls have to sacrifice that way, but you have to make certain that the girl understands, as well as the parents, that, you know, there does need to be one voice, and that voice needs to be from the coach.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily agree that it's unfortunate. I mean, in some ways, that's all you can do, because you can send all the emails you want, and you can talk to the parents all you want. What do we know, Coach? What's the one thing that annoys a parent more than anything else, more than it annoys the kids?
When their kid's not on the floor.
Exactly. So you want to start a conversation with a parent? just don't. Just keep pulling their kid. And at some point, you think they're going to sit by and not say, hey, why the hell is my kid not playing? And then when the coach's answer is, well, we talked about this, and every time Nikki has the ball in her hands, she's looking at you and not me. And she's not running the offense that we're designing all week long. So we can't have her in the game. Hope that clears things up for you, Mr. Fiorino. I mean, what else do you say, right?
Exactly. And getting back to the story, it's unfortunate. Do I think the coach handled it the right way? I really don't, because, the last thing you want to see is actually the kids of the program or the kids on the team to actually suffer from the decision. But do I understand why he made the decision? Yeah. I mean, sometimes, I've had the thoughts of, dealing with the unique personalities of the parents and everything else, and dealing with the drama. It's like, why do I do this? And
well, why do you do it?
The obvious answer is, I love being involved with my own kids. So, I want to be that coach. I want to be that dad that's involved and be able to, participate it. And, besides my own kids, I really do enjoy coaching the girls, So, I do it for the kids. I don't do it because of the parents or anything. I think the residual effects that you have to deal with is, managing the unique personalities that each of the different parents have.
And do you have any aspirations to go and coach college basketball?
No.
Do you have any aspirations to make a dime coaching anywhere?
No.
All right, so you
for the joy.
You represent, I would say, hopefully more than, but let's just safely say 90% of the folks who volunteer their time to coach certainly do it because, and I do it for the same reasons. For me, I just love watching young kids achieve and develop and mature, which is why I enjoyed so much coaching them from younger ages. And now with my son playing with the Bayside Yankees, which is a nationally ranked program, is he the star of that team? No, but you're watching all these kids grow and mature and become men and women. I mean, it's a fun thing to watch happen. And Coach Stacy, I really want to thank you for the call. I mean, you kind of hit the nail right on the head. I hope you're enjoying the show.
I am. Thanks, Coach Hine.
All righty. And that's really what it's all about, guys. I mean, let's face it. It sucks to say it. It really does. But I think, and by the way, I did speak to Coach Wayne Gigante, and I had some questions for him. I guess I was 2 for 2 this week. I actually got people on the phone. So let me go through some of the things that I asked. I mean, listen, George, you know what? Let me start. George from Hartford sent an email in and said, hey, Coach Tony, don't you think this coach took the easy way out? Seems to me like he quit on the team. As coaches, we all face adversity. Just seems a little weak to me. George, I got to admit, that was one of the first things that went through my mind as well. And like I said, I think it's important to note that I did reach Coach Gigante, and I did speak to him, and I did ask him some of these questions. And as I go through some of them, I think, George, you'll have a better idea of what actually happened. So I asked him some of the obvious questions. I said, okay, Coach, do you have a daughter on the team? He said, no, he does not. Do you teach at the school? No, he does not. He's a chiropractor. And he must be doing a hell of a job as a chiropractor, because I don't know many doctors that got that kind of spare time to coach a varsity basketball team. Is this a private or public school? It's a private school. Now, I asked him also, when you say you built something over the past 2.5 years, did you recruit these kids? And he said, no. He says these 3 sisters, these 3 girls in particular, the Rostovskis, I guess was the name. These 3 girls want to come to this school because apparently this is one of the, Grosse Pointe Leggett is one of the top academic schools in the area. So these girls are great athletes, and they want to go get a terrific education. Read between the lines. Private schools can give scholarships, and they did. And no, by the way, no one got the Catamount tickets because I'm disappointed. I should have asked Stacy just to take a guess. Adam, now I'm going to give you the layup question. Who do you think is the biggest problem parent this coach had to deal with?
Ooh, layup, really?
Well, layup if you were following the story. I'll give you the short answer. The 3 star girls, the sisters.
Oh, right, the sisters. Okay.
Think about it. I mean, yeah. They have, they're all. Imagine what other high school varsity team has 3 significant players having dinner together every night?
That's pretty rare. Yeah, that's pretty rare.
It's very rare. So the dad, according to Wayne Gigante, is the culprit. And here's where it starts to get interesting. The dad is a former high school basketball coach himself. Coach Gigante told me it got to the point where the dad wanted to actually be on the bench. He actually suggested, hey, you need some help. Let me come sit on the bench. The coach already had 2 assistants. And by the way, the coach has great players, has 2 assistant coaches already, and they're winning. So talk about if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, guess what started, and again, this is according to Wayne Gigante, and I got an email here that's pretty damning after this, but let me get to this first. According to Coach Gigante, this dad started telling other parents, he doesn't really, here's what I would do different. Here's what we did when I was winning. And he started telling the other parents that the coach indeed needed his help. Coach Gigante got wind of this, and he confronted the dad, told him to make it stop. It got to the point where Coach Gigante, for the first time in school history, closed practices, meaning up to that point, they would allow parents in the gym, which I personally think it's a mistake. But that's neither here nor there. Coach Gigante did it. It was working. It was fine. But he actually got to the point where he closed the practice for 4 weeks. Interesting to note, during that 4-week period of time, they had games against some pretty tough opponents. What Coach Gigante noticed, and here's where it kind of got to a head, during the game, the kids not only were looking up to Dad for instruction, they were doing I won't say complete opposite, but they were doing offensive plays that were obviously not what the coach was telling them to do. So it wasn't even about go to your left or set a pick. The guy was apparently trying to run an offense from the stands. And coach also noticed that they were running a different defense than what he was calling. The guy was trying to coach from the stands. So you talk about, did he quit on the kids? His answer to me, and it was a bit of a futile answer, but I got to give him credit for doing what he did without a kid on the team or even teaching at the school and having a full-time job. He said, look at it this way, Tony. The dad wasn't going anywhere anytime soon, and I did not want the kids to suffer. So while I may say pull the kids and, that's how you get back at them and that's how you resolve the situation, he didn't want to do that. He just kind of said, you know what, I'll take, in his mind, the high road, and I'm just going to leave. Now, I did get another email here. There's this a gentleman named Clarence Gaines, who's a good friend of the show, always sends me some cool stuff. He sent me an email that he found on this topic, and you know what? You put your name online, and I'm going to read it. A lady by the name of, I'm going to spell it first so you don't think I'm an idiot. P-S-A-U-N-T-I-A. So, Santia Andrews. And there's some subtleties and some innuendo in this email, so just forgive me, but it's an email. I got to read it. Wow, I knew this man wore a thong. I just wasn't able to prove it until now. I guess that's insinuating that he is a spineless sissy boy. Anyway, I am one of the parents at Liggett, and I find it very disturbing that after resigning, the coach would go public and not tell the whole story. Well, I guess Santia is going to tell us the whole story. FYI, he is not the victim. The kids are. Okay? All I can say is, and these are 2 online folks, Steve Shannon and Brooke DeLench. You may know Brooke DeLench from momsteam.com. She's been on the show. These 2 hit the nail on the head with their comments. Parent concerns are totally different from parental interference. For the record, it wasn't parents with a capital S that he had a problem with. It was a parent. And in my opinion, that only became a problem after the coach won Coach of the Year. And I don't know what that means. How do you include the parent in practices and allow him to help run practices for a year or more and allow the parent to scout other teams leading to and through the playoffs and the championship game and then later say it's too much parental interference? What coach never rides the bus with their team, not even to the championship game, and then shows up to the last game with 2 minutes left in warm-ups and ask a player what does she know about the team they're about to play? Where do they do this lady's really doing a lousy job of emailing. When a kid wants to quit her team after coming off a very successful run last season, there's got to be a problem. And if a parent can't address the coach, then who should they address? If a kid expresses they've learned nothing from you as a coach and you've been that coach for the last 3 years because the coach puts focus on one player, then maybe resigning was the best thing for him. When college coaches send, this is all just a bunch of innuendo. Clarence, thank you for sending me the email, but boy, Santia, and if I'm pronouncing your name right, call the show, because this is gibberish and I can't even read it. But the point is, I'm going to hit a couple of these, but before we do, I want to get back to a couple of your calls, because I just got to try to see if I can make some reality out of this gibberish that was typed in. But apparently, our long-lost buddy, the president of Coach Tony's Mongo Nation, Nooch from Long Island, appears to be on the lines. Adam, why don't you put him through? We're going to go to Nooch. Nooch, my man, how you doing, bud?
Coach Tony.
Long time no talk.
Yeah, you know what happened? I was walking outside today, and I butt dialed you. I didn't even realize I was calling in. Sorry about that.
What do you make of this, Nooch?
You know, honestly, I really just kind of caught some of what's going on here. First of all, Happy New Year.
Thank
Hope
you, you too.
everything's going well for you. I know I haven't seen or talked to you for a while, but, my son's out here doing high school wrestling and everything, so it takes up a lot of our time on Saturdays.
Well, I appreciate the call as always, man. What do you got to say?
Yeah, well, just fill in a little bit more. Like I said, I literally just kind of went online, and I don't want to take up a lot of your time here.
Well, here's the thing.
I didn't hear the story so much. I heard your last caller that called in, Coach Stacy, saying, I guess we're getting in here about dealing with some of the parents.
Well, this parent is basically coaching his kids from the sideline. He's poisoning the Kool-Aid for the other parents, and it got to the point where the coach felt there was a mutiny on his hands. Now, my personality would be you stay there, you fight, you send a message, you bench the kids until the parent shuts up.
Right.
This coach basically said, you know what, life's too short, and he just resigned.
How old? What are we talking about here, high school?
High school varsity, private school.
Wow. Yeah, that I'm not surprised, to be quite honest with you. But what I am, again, is that's why, especially at that level, it's a little bit shocking to me because, again, your kids are in high school. You've got to rely on the coaches to basically do their job, and I guess it's like the old thing, if coaches, if parents can realize what the coaches are doing, imagine, if you will, if a parent was out doing their job, maybe fixing a car, and somebody walked over to them and said, no, do it this way, do it that way, do it this way.
And then, like I said, and then poison the Kool-Aid to other people that may be going to that auto garage.
What you're doing is you're contradicting the way that the coach is trying to teach his players their way. Because they have to have a scheme. They've got to have some sort of game plan so that everybody's on board with it. And now what you're doing is you're coaching from the sidelines, first of all, the individual. You're not coaching the team. And second of all, you shouldn't be doing it anyway. It's good. You should just be there to cheer on the kid.
I couldn't agree more.
What's that?
I said I couldn't agree more. I mean, if you don't like the way the coach coaches, as a parent, you got one or two decisions you can make. You either rally to get the coach fired, or you volunteer to do the job yourself, or you send your kids to a different school.
Well, or you could just sit down and talk to the coach, and ask him after the game and say, these are things that are a little concerning.
Nooch, can you stay on hold for a second because I'm late for a break? I want to talk to you about something coming up that's going to help us out here, and I want to continue the conversation. Can you hang on a second?
No problem.
All right, listen, you guys, we got to go to a quick break here. You're listening to Hey Coach Tony. Stick around. I'll be right back.
Coach Tony.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. You're with Hey Coach Tony. We're on the line with our good old buddy Nooch, who is president of the Hey Coach Tony Mongo Nation. Hey, Nooch, you still with us?
Yeah.
All right, listen, here's the thing that I think started this whole ball rolling in the wrong direction. And this is a trap that if you're a youth sports parent, if you're a youth coach, listen to this, and if you take nothing away from this show other than this, take it, put it in your pocket, courtesy of Coach Tony. The biggest mistake that this coach made was not necessarily resigning, because he wound up getting behind a big snowball at the bottom of the mountain. Earlier in his career, he allowed this parent to actually be involved in practices. Now, that doesn't mean a coach can't change his mind and say, I no longer want you here. But whenever you let a parent into the inner circle, it's really hard to get rid of them without something very bad happening. And here's the funny part. The problem parent is the epitome of the wolf in the sheep's clothing, because guess what's going to happen? I'm with Coach Nooch, and my son stinks. But I want him to play short. First day of practice. Right. Hey, Coach Nooch, can I help you carry some of the equipment to your car? Wow, Tony, you're a good guy. Thanks for doing that. Second day. Hey, Coach Nooch, can I help you with the equipment? Thanks, I really appreciate it. And on the walk to the car, hey, how's TJ doing today? Okay, good. Yeah, because he's been working hard. By the 5th practice, it's like, hey, coach, guess what? I drew up some plays, and when do I get my shirt and my hat as your assistant coach? By that point, by conversation 4, you are done. And you cannot say, Mr. Fiorino, you're an idiot. Please don't coach. I don't need you. You need to say that nicely day 1. I mean, do you agree with that, Nooch?
100%. Especially at that level, when you're at the level of, getting into the preteen or the teen ages and so forth, without a doubt. Because, again, a lot of that is more teaching than just volunteering your time to put everybody in the right position and tell them where to throw the ball. Now you're getting into specific training, specific areas, so they have to understand the game. And the other thing, too, again, it's great to have parent involvement, but when they say they want to be involved, again, they probably have something in the back of their mind that they're going to be getting involved to get their son or daughter more playing time, perhaps.
And it's not always malicious. I mean, that's just what we all have our kids' best interests, and selfishly so in mind. I'll go so far as to say, if you are a youth or scholastic coach, and a parent comes up and tries to be helpful, and you know that they coach, turn and run like hell.
Yeah.
What good could possibly come out of that?
Say to them and saying, that's fantastic. Here's what I'd like Johnny to do. So when you go home, this is exactly what I need you to work on. Do you agree with me? Fantastic. Here you go. See you later.
And what I always tell whenever a parent, and I send this in an email so it doesn't seem like I'm accusing any one parent, but if you're a coach, try this one. And it's a simple message. If you want to coach your kid, you have all week at home to coach your kid. Correct. When they're at practice and when they're at the games, they are going to do what I tell them to do, or they're just not going to play. Right. And I don't want to sound like the beehole that I sound like, but the point is that's the way it's got to be. You want to work on their mechanics, in other words, their shooting mechanics. First of all, tell me what you're doing, so we make sure we agree. But once they are in my gym, they belong to me. You are a cheerleader, and I want to hear you talk about what's great. If I hear, and I'm a jerk because I do go over the edge with this, but I keep it matter of fact. If I hear any tactical instruction coming from a parent, I pull the kid, and I mean immediately. Now it sounds harsh, but guess what? I never have to do it more than once or twice.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not on a basketball court wondering why I'm calling for a 1-2-2 trap and the kids are in a 2-1-2 zone. I never have to ask myself that question. You know why? Because it doesn't happen. Because I don't allow Mrs. Smith, who was the backup shooting guard at Joe's college. I don't care what you did. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I do care what you did, and I think it's great. But either you coach or you sit there and you do what you can at home and trust that I'm doing what I got to do. Now, doesn't mean there aren't coaches with huge egos. I'm the type of guy.
Not to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I've done the total. I don't want to say the opposite. I've done exactly the same thing. I've been coaching, the youth leagues and so forth for a while. I'm not certified to coach, let's say at the high school level, for instance. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, what I've been doing is training and working with my son. Mm-hmm. Now, I've also gotten involved with talking to, not coaching with, talking to the high school coaches. Because I just want to find out, make them aware that I'm there, just to kind of talk to them, just to see how the coaches are. I mean, they're with your kids a lot. There's no reason why you can't just talk to them, have a conversation, and that's it, right?
If you talk, have conversations with them.
And I noticed a couple of things that were happening, let's say at the school. I asked the coach during the off season, is it possible for me to come down and watch the camp and possibly help out? Is it okay? During their off-season camp. Mm-hmm. And the first thing he asked me a couple of questions in regards to football, what I knew, how I played, or whatever it was, and what I would like to do as far as the involvement. He was very specific.
Good for him.
And all I said was, I just kind of want to see and learn what you're doing, so I can just kind of understand the offense. And he's like, Mike, this would be the greatest thing for us. Come on down anytime you want, anytime you can make it, and so forth. Now, granted, I was volunteering my time, and the other thing too was, I didn't have an agenda for my son. What I had was I wanted to understand what he was going through in practice so that after the practice is over, maybe he didn't understand what the coach was communicating to him and I could explain it to him.
And if you said something that the coach...
As the season started, the first thing the coach said to me, he said, we're starting 2-a-days next week, right, when the season starts. So I said, do you need me to do anything? He goes, yes, I need you to stay home. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I can't have you on the field because now it's our time.
See, that's
You
Now,
see?
did you take that personal?
No.
Exactly. See,
No.
you're there if the coach heard you say anything that he didn't like, my guess is way back when the workouts were happening in the offseason, he would have said, hey, Mr. Nooch, thanks a bunch, but we don't need you here. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
and you know what? If we do, we'll let you know. But you said it the right way. And
I continue to get emails from this guy. Not this guy, excuse me, from the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, as soon as, just before day one of the 2 days, he thanked me for coming in. And he said, I appreciate your time, looking forward to working with you in the coming years as your son is attending our school and so forth, and we hope to see you down at the games.
Nooch, listen, this is why guys like you are doing it the right way, and I hope this humble little radio show has something to do with it. Listen, folks, that's going to wrap it up for another hour. Hey, Coach Tony, as always, I appreciate you listening. Every Saturday, 9 a.m. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.